I don't see anything happening. We are powerless, and we refuse to acknowledge that, accept it, and change it. What power do we have? We can't even get this president to pay attention to us. It is heartbreaking. And it goes on and on and on and on. And there's all this bullshit and words that mean nothing from Obama's lips. It makes me ill. I supported him fervently.
So you were hopeful at the beginning of the administration?
Yes. And I got to say that I am not hopeful anymore. I think he's a weasel.
What do you want to hear come out of President Obama's mouth?
Words that will never come out. I am going to urge every branch of this government, including the Supreme Court, to determine that all Americans are equal, including gay people. We shouldn't be at the mercy of being voted on by other people, you know? Of course people don't like us, and they shouldn't have the vote to kill us. There's got to be a way through law, and that was what the Supreme Court was basically meant to do, to be fair to everyone.
But after stunning losses for Democrats at the ballot box, many advocates fear lawmakers will be hesitant to vote in favor of LGBT rights during a midterm election year.
What's your internal measure for success for the Obama administration? If the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, for instance, weren't passed, or Don't Ask, Don't Tell had not been repealed, would you deem that a failure in your eyes?
Yes. I mean, I have 4 areas that I think are critically important. The passage of 3 landmark pieces of legislation for our community: the hate crimes bill, overturning Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the passage of ENDA. And then the 4th area, really, to my way of thinking, is making more significant gains in the direction of full marriage equality than we have at any other time in our history.
To sort of answer the question, I think there's a very slim chance that we're going to get ENDA next year, and an even slimmer chance that we're going to get Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Here's the problem. The first year is healthcare and the economy. Gotta focus on healthcare and the economy, and probably Iraq and Afghanistan, because they're the most important issues. Second year is a congressional election year, 2010. Well, we don't do controversial stuff in a congressional election year because that might hurt Democrats. The next year of the Obama administration, year 3, is 2011. Well, it's not an election year, but it's the beginning of the presidential primaries. So can't do anything that year because, I mean, what kind of a president's going to run for re-election and talk about the gays? Then you go to the last year of the Obama administration, 2012, which is a presidential election year and a congressional election year. There's no real great scenario for how the administration and Congress can move ahead on our issues. And that's kind of the point. We're a minority group. Moving ahead on our issues isn't easy, or we'd have full civil rights as equal Americans.
So people aren't angry, and activism depends on anger. Totally. You have to be pissed off. If you're not pissed off, forget it. And if you're not pissed off, then quite frankly, you're not the kind of homosexual that I have much respect for.
Why aren't people pissed off?
Darling, if I knew the answer to that, I would be a very wise person. I saw what united activism could achieve with the success of ACT UP. I saw how it could really work. Every single drug that's out there for people with HIV is there because of ACT UP. Period. End of statement.
HRC, like any national organization, has to work from a perspective of they want access. Fair enough. But the access is to influence. Joe Solmonese was invited to go to the White House ceremony to basically cover the president's behind. Showing up at the ceremony to make the president look good. HRC could have turned around and done a public statement saying, we're not in here, and here's why. It would have ticked off the White House, to be sure, but it would have embarrassed the White House. And it would have put the White House in a position where they would have been ticked, but they would have said, shoot, now we lost this public relations opportunity to look better. Now what do we do?
It's been a progression, and it's been a sort of a learning back and forth. And so we have to recognize that some days and on some broad areas we're going to win, and on some we're not. And our job, I think, is to always push, and always push in a very strategic way, which we do, but to understand that on something like getting an LGBT person to be appointed to the first Obama cabinet in the first go-round, didn't happen. It didn't happen. So what do we do about that? Do we close the door and walk away and start throwing rocks outside of the White House fence? Or do we stay in there and say, we didn't get something here, but we did get something here. We're going to capitalize on this gain. We're going to build on this gain, but we're never going to stop pushing over here.
And whether or not that strategy works remains to be seen. From Washington, this is Kerry Eleveld for The Advocate.